Recording in progress.
Mike King is on the mic with Mike, Richmond's premier business radio platform.
Judging how you judge it, say we going corporate. Nah, we just corner boys with the corner office. I'm at the cap table, what the splits is. Not that cap table, boy, we live this.
Promoting how business can make the community better. No one does it better than Mike King Biz. On the mic with Mike. Check it out.
Good afternoon. This is Phillip Noel checking in on ESPN Richmond 106.1. Here talking all things business, marketing, community development, and bringing on some of the greatest thought leaders in the area. Today I have a very exciting guest, beyond a guest. He's a very good friend of mine, decade plus, I would say, years.
Yes, sir.
Mike Smart, I'll give him an opportunity to tell you about a little bit what he does, but just give you a little bit of backstory. Both two NSU alumni, graduates out here, so that's exciting. So first and foremost, behold the green and gold
Yes,
there.
sir. Yes,
But
sir.
Mike Smart would love to give you an opportunity just to tell the people what it is that you do.
Well, first of all, I appreciate the opportunity to come
Yes, sir.
and build a little bit, but then also to talk about something that I'm passionate about. But then also I always want to celebrate people for giving a space on their platform. So thank you to you and also Mike as well too for showing love. But yeah, man, I'm excited to be here in this position and in this entity that I'm showing up to. I'm showing up as a sustainability engagement coordinator with the Office of Sustainability with the City of Richmond, where our main goal in that large title is really to promote as every Richmonder should have access to equitable opportunities when it comes to climate in the city of Richmond. And so the biggest outsource to that right now is through this RVA Green 2050 plan that we've recently last year was adopted by City Council. And this year we'll actually be celebrating a year of that wonderful work of not only community development, but also long-term, I think, dream casting when it comes to what we want Richmond to look like. So
Absolutely.
excited to be here.
And with your role, of course, engagement being such a big part, and of course we're here with Mike King Biz, who is one of the biggest business connectors here in the area. Tell me how the importance and the role of community engagement is within your
I mean it's ground level. Like, let's be honest, people have engaged or have different relationships with government. Right, for sure. At the federal level, at the state level, and at the local level. And I think we've noticed specifically over these last few years how the lack of community development when it comes to large-scale initiatives, whether it be again at the federal, state, or local level, has caused a lack of buy-in, trust building, and then honestly, let's be real, the lack of opportunities for communities because it wasn't built in community development. And so I think what I get excited about, and the reason why I really want to center community development in anything that we do, because without the community, we are nothing.
Absolutely.
Right. And so to really have people to feel like they can co-create, they can also collaborate with offices such as mine. Right. I think it yields to long-term successes of, I mean, we're really attacking a very large issue. Specifically, and in this terms, we're saying climate change. And that can't be done with just the city doing something.
Absolutely.
We have something in the office called a shared accountability framework.
Okay.
And so we as a city have onus. Community organizations have onus, private businesses have onus, but also community members have some onus.
Absolutely.
But without us doing a good job with storytelling, that just doesn't happen.
Yeah, and you brought up something a little bit earlier, and it threw my mind because I'm like, I might be one of those people. Possibly people have been recycling wrong.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it is. It's just like, let me rewind a tad bit. So I think because of where we are in our community now, I think well-intentioned goals, plans, initiatives, and let's say programs have sounded good. It had good intention, but as we've gotten more information, we just haven't done a good job of really now going back to say, okay, we weren't wrong. We could have did it better. So, for example, the goal has always been to recycle, reduce, reuse, which we want to continue to do, right? But we also want to eliminate waste.
Okay.
That's what we're not talking about.
Got you.
So, yes, we want people to know to recycle your cardboard boxes. We want people to know, hey, recycle that plastic bottle. That's fine.
Yeah.
but do you need to buy what's in that plastic
Got you.
box? Or excuse me, that cardboard box.
Got
Or do
you.
you need to drink water out of a plastic water bottle? Could you just carry a bottle with you?
Yeah.
And so it's just really trying to get people to kind of rethink how some of these issues were,
Sure.
you know, kind of advertised to us or kind of brought to us as we were children or years and decades ago to say, okay, now that we have more information, it's just a better way to do it.
And when you speak about that community accountability
Yeah.
aspect, right, and you have it from what it is that you all are doing at your office, and then as you just spoke about, there's things that maybe a person to person level can do to reduce waste.
Mm-hmm.
What about even that middle piece of potentially corporate companies around the city or
Yeah.
small businesses? What part do they play, and what are some opportunities?
I mean, a major
there?
part.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of the work that we want to do specifically, and I'll say, so our office is working on for your listeners is with the Office of Sustainability, what we're working through a plan called RVA Green 2050,
Mhm.
which says by 2050 we need to be net zero carbon emissions. By 2030, we need to make some work to make sure we're centering equity at the middle of these conversations. Let's be real.
Yeah.
We know east end of Richmond and south side of Richmond do not look like some other parts of Richmond,
For
right?
sure.
And for us to say we want to combat climate change and take a lot of the political rhetoric out of it,
Yeah.
that comes with some level of responsibility. And so to answer your question specifically, when it comes to small businesses and corporations and, you know, CBOs, we want them to find some intersectionality between the work that they already do
Yeah.
to this larger issue called climate change. So when I
Gotcha.
say intersectionality, I mean, I may be passionate about education. So organizations could be focusing on education, they're addressing education issues in the city, or they may have opportunities for students for education. But where's climate change within that conversation of education?
Come on.
Well, raising a general level of knowledge is a great way for education organizations now to tap into this work. Where in the past, they've been like, well, just let the greening organizations kind of handle that. So we're really, you know, everybody has an opportunity to tap in, and that's something our office is continuing to push for and try to find ways for Richmonders to tap into that.
Huge. Again, this is Phillip Noel on Richmond ESPN 106.1. Mike, for anyone that is looking to just keep up with anything that you all are doing from events-wise or campaigns that you all are doing, what are maybe some platforms or things that they can do?
Yeah, they can definitely follow us on all of our social media, all the social media platforms at RVA Green 2050. And then you can also go to our. We have a website that is going to be updated in a few months.
Gotcha.
But that's a great way to just learn about what the issue is. And if I could give you a listener just maybe a next step, is to first educate yourself.
Gotcha.
There has been so much information out there right now, misinformation, maybe piecemeal information that I think people have been well intended. But just maybe not communicated the right way.
Got you.
And so the first challenge I have for people is do your research.
Come on.
I think you can go to rvagreen2050.com or our specific website. Just search the Office of Sustainability with the City of Richmond. You'll be able to see the full RVA Green Plan, but also just generally inform yourself of what we're currently dealing with.
Gotcha.
I think then that gives you space to find some key points where you can tap in. Of course, you can always, volunteer with some of these great organizations in the city. But I think a great first step was just sign up for our newsletter. Yeah. Where you can get general information about what's happening in the city. Yeah. You can also find us about some volunteering opportunities generally as well too. And we're also working long term to create some ways for nonprofit organizations to find out about funding opportunities that are happening. Yeah. I'll stop right there for a second just to say there's currently about $580 billion available at the federal level. For
with the B, billion with the B, yes.
So through the American Rescue Plan, through the IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act, those were, people may think that there wasn't a lot of, teeth in those bills. There was a lot of funding in those bills. And so what we've been also trying to do is to, help some of our CBOs think through ways to access these funds. Gotcha. And think more collaboratively when it doesn't always have to be the city of Richmond being at the forefront of these conversations. How can we be supportive? Yeah. And so we, for example, we were able to secure $6 million through a grant through the USDA to support some of our greening projects in the city and, kind of catalyze where we are with our tree canopy, which is a whole thing. And even working around trying to find more opportunities for urban farming, urban agriculture. Come on, man. So it's
we don't hear about that.
Yeah, we don't talk about
things.
It, man. And a lot of times, and I get off this high horse in a few seconds as well. One thing my office is also very passionate about is to take the idea that this world of climate change is not for Black and brown people.
Sure, absolutely.
It's been, honestly whitewashed in a lot of spaces in years past to say, oh, it's only a certain amount of people that can
absolutely
kind of curate this message.
Mhm.
And the lack thereof has really, for a lot of people kind of taken out that feeling like this is for me.
Right.
And so that's another thing that we're excited about. And I push people to continue to engage in is to find out how climate change has affected not just them, but our communities long term.
And when you speak about that overarching goal of getting us green by 2050, right? Some people can say, oh man, that's 26 years from now. I'll be X amount of years old.
Sure.
But what are some things within, let's say, the next 3 to 5 years that are on your like top priority list that you are grinding for every day?
Yeah. So the first thing I think is the one of the most important things, and again, I challenge everybody to take a look at the full RBA Green Plan. It's about 400 or 500 pages, so it's a lot. It's a little dense. I won't lie to you, but I think it is still great to generally just familiarize yourself with the plan. But I think the first thing we need to do as a city is be introspective around what our current output is.
Got you.
So that's making sure our current buildings that the city is in ownership of, make sure that they are the most efficient.
Got you.
Right.
Yeah.
So we shouldn't have make shortcuts or do shortcuts when it comes to infrastructure upgrades to say, oh, it's just cheap. Well, cheap long term does not help, right? Yeah. And so we need to make sure that the city is being accountable.
Got you.
I think next the next step in that is also being very accountable towards funding opportunities for organizations. So, for example,
so there's money out there, right?
So we, I'm actually shepherding a grant through our office that I'm glad to say we, for the most part, have fully committed the full amount of the grant. So we got some money through the American Rescue Plan to create what we call the Neighborhood Climate Resilience Grant Program, which is to support greening projects within the city. And those projects span from now up until 2026.
Got you.
And so we had about I want to say 20 organizations in total apply for those funds for upward to about $1.6 million worth of requests. We had only 865,000.
Sure.
We've committed that full amount out to 17 organizations and are pushing through the city's internal processes.
And how do they utilize that to be able to?
So now it really, the grant was written in a space where they decide what they want to do. Because at times we've, let's be real, the cities have kind of co-opted organizations, projects, and programs to make it fit for us. But we were really intentional with this funding was we wanted these projects to be, what do you see? What do you want to dream about?
Yeah.
And so some of the organizations we'll be funding is Deron Chavis and Happily Natural Day, which is one of the power movers when it comes to Black sustainability in the city of Richmond. Southside Relief. We're also working with Tech for Troops, which is a new organization that's working with veterans to make sure they have access to opportunities. We're also working with Second Baptist Church. They have a beautiful community garden in their space and have a program called Walk a Mile. Where they entice residents to, walk for health benefits, not requiring them to, but once they walk, that's $5 that they can use for their community garden to actually pay for actual fresh fruits and vegetables. And they can also use some of, if they are eligible, they can use some of their SNAP benefits for it as well. So it's a variety of different organizations in there, but I say all that to say, we know as an office, and one of the steps is to make sure we're taking burdens off the community. And sadly, we've been a part of some places where we've added burdens.
I love that, man. Phillip Noel here on ESPN Richmond 106.1. Brother Mike, when you have something like this, when it has, 2050 as like the big overarching goal, right? Obviously, that's going to impact a lot of people who are currently kids. So that's your grade school, from grade school all the way up to high school, all of that. So what are some things that you're doing to be able to help, one, educate, but then also to be able to maybe bring them into the fold in any which way or form?
I think the biggest thing right now is building up our infrastructure to support. I mean, Richmond is unique because we have, I would say, 5 major school systems or college systems within our area. You got VCU, you got University of Richmond, you got Virginia Union, and even though they're in Petersburg, I'm gonna say VSU as well too, Virginia State University, and then also you have the community colleges which have smaller input. And we know, I mean, by far and above, a few of the top issues that the generation out there under Generation Z is passionate about is climate.
Absolutely,
right,
big time.
And so one thing we've been trying to do is to make sure that we're meeting them where they are, to provide opportunities to tap into some of the work of our office, but then also to say how can we engage better with RPS,
Yeah.
Richmond Public Schools, which is, I mean, probably the next step.
Got you.
Is to make sure that as we engage our college students to be able to support them in some of their work and to be able to connect them to the community as well too, so it doesn't become a relationship where it's almost like a savior complex where the students are coming to save the community and graduate.
Yeah.
No, we want you to
Yeah.
feel like this is a collaborative experience where you're actually
Absolutely.
learning more from the community long term. That's helping with professional development opportunities for these
Gotcha.
college students. But going back to RPS students, we also see sometimes when we can have conversations with some of the kids first, that makes the conversations with the parents so much smoother.
Got you.
And so it is a push for us to make sure that we're leveraging our relationships at the college level, and then from there hopefully trickling down to more engagement opportunities with RPS.
Got you. And now that we, of course, being in 2024, it's a big election year, right? Sir. And I'm sure this organization is nonpartisan in that way. Sure. But what opportunities possibly present themselves when you have a year like this where elections are happening?
Well, I would say always be aware of first of all, as I said before, educating yourself around not only policy but also ordinances.
Yeah.
Being aware of why certain cities or why certain localities within the city may not have as much equitable access to education.
Yeah.
I think being aware of that gives you space to now advocate for whatever your visions and goals are when it comes to voting. But I think generally just making sure you're aware that I'm a biblical man in my life.
Yes,
so,
sir.
They say, people die because of the lack of knowledge. But I want to push back on that. I don't think it's the lack of knowledge. I think it's the access to knowledge.
Got you.
And I think the best opportunity here is to make sure people know there is all information out there for you.
Yeah.
You just got to go find it. But then also after you find it, you got to cite it.
Got you.
Right. You got to make sure that you're not just reading stuff just to read it. It's a lot of information out here that can make it very confusing. There's very easy ways. And I would say, that's why I said tapping back into our website is a great space to tap into. The Science Museum has been a great partner with us. It has a lot of literature available. We have something on our website called the Climate Equity Index, which gives you space to actually map out. It's a very interactive map for you to see actually where, one of the biggest things, and I hate to be on this tangent so much, but heat islands.
Gotcha.
Right? A lot of people don't realize that the more trees, the cooler the areas are.
Sure, absolutely.
More shade, Gotcha. Correct. Specifically in urban communities, of course, they're hotter because they have less trees. Of course. So if I have less trees and I'm let's say I'm waiting on the bus and it's mid-August, I'm waiting for the bus. Yeah. I have no cover over my bus stop. Yeah. Well, that rises my level of potentially having a heat stroke. If I don't have health insurance, now what does that put me in? A position where I don't have as much potential funding to even pay for the services I may need if I have to go to the hospital.
But you would also probably correlate that even with like heightened anxiety as well, anger rising, things like that have that type of impact.
Yes, sir.
And congrats to you, but you are the father of an amazing baby boy. Yes, how do you, when you think about your own seed, right? Yeah. When you think about the years to come and the work that you're doing on a daily basis to help put this city in a better position, how has that potentially, if any, impacted your thought process or how you go about this?
I think in this current climate of, and no pun intended with the word climate, there's hope still.
I love that.
I think right now, because of where we are with so many challenges in our society and in a variety of different levels, I think what we have to consider and continue to consider, there's hope still available.
Absolutely.
Right. So as I look at my son and, say that, hey, at the end of the day, this work that I'm doing is going to help him long term, hopefully.
Absolutely.
But also to say, as I, get into situations where you're like, dang, it's getting crazy out here.
Yeah.
That's fine and dandy knowing it's going to get crazy, but it's still opportunities for us to make some change.
Gotcha.
As I leave, I'll yield to 3 words that I would love for people to tap into.
Yes, sir. Please.
First of all, climate action, climate change, and climate resiliency.
Gotcha.
And I'm going to also say climate equity as well.
Okay.
So I'll start with climate change. Climate change basically says that the world is changing, right? I know a few months ago in the city of Richmond, we had this random smog that just came down.
Okay.
But literally the city was orange.
Gotcha.
Right? It was from some smoke that had came down from some fires in Canada,
right?
Yeah. Pushed down to this community. Now think about it. Generally, if you're inhaling smoke, how is that affecting you?
Gotcha.
That is a climate change issue, right? Sure. We talk about the access to people talk about now we have some snow more recently, but when was the last time we seen snow more than 2 inches?
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? So it is literally the climate is changing. So then the second word in that is climate action. To say we have to do something now.
Absolutely.
Right. And so that's a lot of the work my office is to say that now that we know that the world is changing, let's do something. The second step in that is climate resilience, to say, okay, now that we know the world is changing, we got to do something. Now we got to retrofit our community to say, let's make sure when it floods that public housing does not flood first.
Come on.
Right.
Come on.
Or when it floods or when it's hot outside, can we make sure that people don't have AC units hanging out their windows? You know what I'm saying? So it's making sure now that we know that change will happen. Let's retrofit and be prepared for the change. The last thing is climate equity says that we need to make sure that all communities have the same opportunity to access these resources. But we need to make sure the communities that historically did not have those opportunities should be at the top of the line, not the back of the line. And being intentional with those invitations. And so as people get a chance and think towards the future and push towards making sure we are, really supporting the next generation. It's crazy to think that because I still feel like I'm young.
You and me both.
we still got to make sure that we center those ideas as those changes happen, as we're in our daily lives, and you're at your job and thinking about, hey, how can I tap into this? Ask your supervisor or ask your HR, do we have a climate action plan? Have we thought about resiliency in our space? So just some things to think about.
And as we begin to wrap up, what is like the Super Bowl day for like environmental oriented programs like this?
I'll say more specifically, so our office is happy to say that we're celebrating the 1 year creation of RVA Green coming up in February.
Gotcha.
So excited about that. But Earth Day 2024, that's April 22nd.
April 22nd.
So around that day, I would suggest everybody to find some ways to tap into some of these wonderful organizations in the city.
Absolutely.
Get outside your comfort zone. Get outside. Hopefully the weather's nice. Absolutely. But get outside and get a chance to learn about why we really feel like the world is on fire, because it is. You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
And so Earth Day is a great day for you to start that work.
And again, that's April 27th?
April 22nd.
22nd. Okay.
22nd. But what you'll see, I'll probably say from the beginning of April until that 22nd day, you'll see a variety of events within the city.
Popping out. Got you.
But I would say in that space, think about not only going to different events in the city, but going to events in the city of places that you traditionally don't frequent.
I love that.
So don't just go to the Science Museum's events, which I can't wait to attend. I can't wait to show love to that.
Yes, sir.
But go to the South Side of Richmond.
Also,
go support Southside Relief. Go with Deron Chavis and Happily Natural Day. Go to Sankofa Garden, which is a beautiful place for you just to relax, relate, release, but also get your hands dirty in some of the work that he's working on.
Perfect, brother.
Work with Groundwork RVA. So it's some great organizations doing some great work. And I think around the first few weeks of April is a great way or great time for people to tap in to some of these initiatives that some of these organizations are doing. And our office will definitely be a part of that conversation to make sure people are aware of some of these great events in the city.
Perfect. And that's again April 22nd. So that's coming up here soon. 2 months from today. I think today's the 22nd. Well, 3 months technically. But three months coming up today. Yeah. Brother, as we begin to close, tell people how one can follow your organization with the city, but also maybe you personally, whatever.
I would always tell people again, RVA Green 2050 on all your social media platforms. But you're gonna again go to our website or just type RVA Green Climate Action Plan. You'll be able to see a variety of information and actually view the entire plan, which I suggest people to do. I would also say tap into more information, or I would love for people to find out what racial equity is.
Gotcha.
Racial equity is.
Yes, sir.
And then also learning to find out what climate equity is.
Gotcha.
I really want people to really kind of dive into that deeper.
Yes, sir.
For myself, Michael Smart, if you ever want to reach out to me in my current position, my email address is michael.smart.
Gotcha.
Like literal, like I'm
yes, sir.
Smart. That's michael.smart@rva.gov.
Perfect.
And love to connect with you more to just tap into some of the work.
Awesome, brother. Well, thank you for coming on. Definitely excited to see what it is that you're going to be doing in the future. Again, this is Phillip Noel here on ESPN Richmond 106.1, and we'll look forward to seeing you all again. Thank you. Appreciate it.